What is up, you guys? Today, I got the chance to watch all the Star Wars movies. I've been reviewing them leading up to Mandalorian and Grogu. We reviewed the prequel trilogy, the original trilogy, and today, we reviewed the most controversial movies ever made in cinematic history. That's not true. Just the Human Centipede trilogy. We are looking at the sequels to the Star Wars trilogy, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and The Rise of Skywalker. And you know what? I have mixed thoughts on this whole trilogy. So make sure you guys watch this and leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's get right into it. Starting off with Star Wars The Force Awakens. Star Wars The Force Awakens. This movie was obviously one of the biggest, most anticipated movies at the time. It came out in 2015 and made a good amount of money. This obviously was the movie that takes place, well, I wouldn't say immediately, but right after Episode 6 was technically is the finale of the whole Star Wars franchise. At least I feel like that's a great finale. It's technically the finale of the Anakin Skywalker era. Now, The Force Awakens, I honestly, when I was younger, this movie came out when I was 10 years old, and at the time, I didn't like Star Wars. I don't remember ever seeing this in theaters. The only Star Wars movie I've ever seen in theaters was The Rise of Skywalker. But The Force Awakens, I recently rewatched it for this video, and this is a very good movie. I'm staying on that hill. The Force Awakens, very good film. I absolutely enjoyed it. I think it's a very good film. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it right now, my overall score, and that is an 84 out of 100. So that's a high 8 out of 10. It's 1 point away from being a 9 out of 10. This movie introduces to new characters in such a way that is really entertaining, really fun. I love all the new characters that we get introduced in this film, at least for this film. Kylo Ren. And I think he's a very good villain. Like, he's a very interesting character in this film, right? He goes out, obviously spoilers for this whole trilogy, but he kills his father. I'll say that right now. Han Solo. He kills Han Solo. And seeing Han Solo return made sense to me. I was like, this makes sense for the film. Han Solo wasn't just a character that was sprinkled in there to jingle keys in your face. He actually was important to the movie. Also, being Adam Driver, I'm a big Adam Driver fan. And yeah, I was a big fan of Kylo Ren in this film. Also get introduced to Finn and Poe. And I think these two characters are very good in this movie. I think their characters unfortunately go downhill after this, especially for Poe. But seeing the beginning of the film when we see Finn is a stormtrooper, Bob, how do we feel about that? Wise words. Very wise. I do gotta say, I am not a big, massive fan of Rey. I actually don't like Rey at all. But in this movie, I didn't love Rey. She was probably, like, in my top, I don't know. She was a good character. It just, she wasn't perfect. I still enjoyed her character within this film. She was very fun. All the characters were great. Seeing BB-8, this movie had the Star Wars magic. The cinematography and the visuals were fantastic. This is one of the best visually looking Star Wars movies. I'll say that right off the bat. It's visually stunning. Like, it looks beautiful. J.J. Abrams, I believe, is the director. He directed it perfectly. Like, it looks great. And the story's okay. It's fun. Like, it's very copy and paste of A New Hope. So it's not a perfect story, but it's fun enough. It's okay enough. And it's a fun, whimsical world. The new Tatooine, I forget what it's called. It's basically Tatooine. I actually didn't know it wasn't Tatooine until just recently after revisiting it and talking about it with my friends. And they told me, no, that's not Tatooine. That's another planet. And I was like, oh, I thought that was a city on Tatooine. That's a whole other planet? Kind of crazy. It's just Tatooine. But I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I think it's a very fun and underrated film. And for everyone saying that the sequels suck, yeah, they do, but not for this one. This one is probably, I would say, a top 5 Star Wars movie. And I'll stand on that hill. Actually, I don't know if it's top 5. It might be top 6. It is a very underrated Star Wars film. And seeing, like, General Hux, right? General Hux is a very imitating guy in this film, right? Obviously, we'll talk about General Hux later on. But when he's, like, destroying planets, right, with this massive, not Death Star, but Death Planet, we'll just call it, because I kind of forget what the name of the thing's called. But it's basically the Death Star, and it's just blowing up planets. Visually awesome and disturbing. It looks scary and intimidating. And this movie's just awesome. It's a very fun time. I thoroughly enjoy it. Like I said, 84 out of 100. And honestly, I would say that this is a good Star Wars movie to watch. And I watched this on May 4th, and I'm glad I did because I thoroughly had fun with it. Now moving on to Star Wars The Last Jedi. Let's do it. Star Wars The Last Jedi. Probably the most controversial Star Wars film. I'll say it's all over the board. You either hate it or you love it. That's the two picks. There's no one in between. There's either people that absolutely hate this film or absolutely love it. It's probably the most farm bait movie to be getting views. Like, look at the Escape Pod. It became very popular from that one guy crashing out. But anyways, I'm just gonna give you guys my score right now for this film, and that is that it's a 54 out of 100. I gave this movie a 54. I gave the Force Awakens an 84. This film, it's a 5 out of 10 for me, right? I'm leaning, I guess, towards more positively than negatively. So it's in my bottom 3 Star Wars films. I don't like it that much. This used to be my least favorite Star Wars film, but revisiting it, I got a few things. First off, we're going to talk about the positives. I thoroughly enjoy the message in this movie, right? This movie's directed by Rian Johnson, I believe that's his name, the guy who made Knives Out and the Knives Out movies, which are fantastic films. I love the Knives Out trilogy. This one, I don't love it. I think this is when Star Wars goes downhill significantly. They were introducing new things with it, and I really like the Force, right? We'll talk about that first. I really like how they introduced this new method in the Force, right? How Rey and Kylo Ren can talk to each other through, like, they just are sitting in their room and then just see the other person, or they can grab things from each other. That I thought was really interesting. Really cool concept, and I thought that would have been something really cool to take forward within the Star Wars universe. But unfortunately, they don't because they retconned this whole movie. I really thought that was entertaining. I also really liked Kylo Ren throughout the film. He was also a very cool character, and the most quotable lines from Kylo Ren was in this film, right? The key, you keep holding on, let go, or the more. So many lines from Kylo Ren within this film that are so great and so quotable. And I really like Luke training Leia. This is when we get Luke Skywalker into the into the trilogy. I'm not a big fan of Luke Skywalker to begin with. I don't think he's probably one of my least favorite Jedi out of the Jedi that we know. I'm not a big Luke guy. But I don't like Luke Skywalker older. I'm not a big fan of how they kind of made him go hide away and stuff. But I do like how he trains Rey and how he Rey kind of convinces him, and the Force Yoda goes and tries to convince him, saying, "Hey, like anyone can be a Jedi." That's what I really like about this film is it's not like because in Star Wars there's a chosen one or a Jedi needs to be something, right? You need to have a certain skill to be a Jedi. Not everyone can be a Jedi. Well, in this movie, Rey is just a no one, right? Throughout the whole film, she is a nobody. That's what she says. She says, "I'm a nobody." She has no parents. She was just from this random desert planet, right? She's a scavenger. And they say she's a nobody. But she becomes a Jedi. She becomes the last Jedi in existence. And it proves that anyone can learn how to use the Force. Anybody can be a Jedi. And that is something that we haven't seen in Star Wars before. Every single Jedi that we've known in the Star Wars universe has been someone, has something within them, has like I forget what they're called, the midichlorians, right? They have like a certain level of those. They go through the Star Wars training, stuff like that. We haven't had a Star Wars Jedi that's been a nobody. And that was really interesting to me. That was super cool. So I really liked that. I really thought that was entertaining, and it made sense, and it was really cool and different. And I liked how they were bringing that into the table. I also do like the last fight sequence with Kylo Ren versus Luke Skywalker, and again using the new whole Force thing where Luke Skywalker is using the Force to put himself there. Obviously, it overpowers him and does kill him, so Luke dies in this film. But we gotta talk about my negatives because I think that's where my positives end out. I don't think this movie's visually perfect. I think it's a visually okay looking movie, like a 7 out of 10 visuals. I think Force Awakens is a much better looking movie than this. So everyone's saying that the visuals are better in this. No, they're not. I'm sorry, they're just not. I think this movie is entirely way too long. It's one of the longest Star Wars movies, coming in at almost like 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like that, around there, and it feels like an eternity. And that is because what they do with this new character, Rose and Finn. First of all, Finn and Rey should have been together. And I'm not a person like, hey, ship people and stuff. There was so much chemistry in Rey and Finn in Force Awakens that it feels like they should have been together, right? I'm not a big fan of Kylo Ren and Rey together. I think that's such forced relationship stuff. I don't care. I don't think that's right. And this new character, Rose, awful. one of my least favorite Star Wars characters. She's so annoying, and I don't know. It's just so boring, right? The scenes that we get between Rose and Finn when they're on this casino world, I thoroughly like the idea of this casino world. We spent entirely way too much time there. So much time is wasted in this casino world. For this movie being 2 hours and 40 minutes almost, this movie could have been conducted an hour less and gotten maybe congested or shorten that time, right, of this casino world to like less, right, like 15 minutes max. So much, it's so long, and seeing like this whole plot between Rose and Finn, and them going with like this gambler and stuff like that, this code hacker, worst storyline in Star Wars, in my opinion. It's so awful, so boring, and it makes this movie dreadful to watch. I also, like I said, I really liked what they did with the Force, and I can't remember if it's in this movie or The Rise of Skywalker, but I think it's in this film that Leia just all of a sudden can float in space and uses the Force. It worked with Rey. I don't know if it really works with Leia. I'm not a big fan of that. When all of a sudden Leia's sucked out into space, she should have died. I don't understand why she all of a sudden comes back. It's just stupid. But that's really all my negatives that I have. It's boring. And there's a lot of more negatives, but that's really all I can remember. It's just I hated what they did with Finn and also Poe. I hate what they do with Poe in this movie. They make him boring, and Poe was such an interesting character in The Force Awakens. Boring, butchered in this. And you know what? Let's just move on to The Rise of Skywalker because I even got more to say on that. Moving on to The Rise of Skywalker, the worst Star Wars movie to ever exist. One of the worst endings to a franchise to ever exist. What did they do? This movie was the movie that I saw in theaters, and at the time I wasn't a big Star Wars fan, and I came out of it going, it wasn't so bad, but also I wasn't a big Star Wars fan. I rewatched all the Star Wars movies, became more big into it, and rewatched it and went, this is utter trash. I gotta say, I think this movie's visually good looking at times. It looks kind of cool, and there's some epic fight sequences, especially with the Star Destroyers versus the little TIE fighters and stuff, or the X-Wings and stuff. Cool. I like those little bits and stuff. And also the beginning where we see Kylo Ren. He is awesome. Like menacing, slaying people, and he's trying to find Palpatine, which we're going to talk about. But cool. I like Kylo Ren in the beginning of the movie. Beginning. I have so much to say. That's all I have positive. Everything else negative. Let's start off with Palpatine. Why? Why is he back? This makes no sense. Palpatine dies in Return of the Jedi. Even if he doesn't die, they never explain how he survived. How did he come back at all? At least Darth Maul made a little bit of sense for him to come back. And I was like, you know what? It's cool. They gave him actually a character development after that. So it makes sense. He comes back, right, Darth Maul? Totally, sure. Palpatine, this is the finale. And Palpatine, I get, is one of the biggest Star Wars villains in history. It makes no sense for him to just all of a sudden be here. Like, why? And this film, The Rise of Skywalker, was made to kind of retcon The Last Jedi because a lot of fans didn't like it. And the thing is, they take everything good about The Last Jedi and ruin it. The problem with The Last Jedi is the Finn and Rose stuff and how long the movie is. But the stuff that's really cool is how Rey is nobody and becomes that, right? Throughout the film, it's revealed that Rey is a Palpatine. That somehow Palpatine survived, had a son or daughter or whatever, and then that son or daughter had Rey. And Rey is the grandchild of Palpatine and has the Force within her, has the electric powers, making her a somebody, making the whole point of The Last Jedi, that 2 hours and 40 minutes, a nothing, not important. It literally makes it not important. It retcons the whole thing and makes everything about it stupid and not important. What was the point of The Last Jedi if you're just gonna ruin it with this movie? At least, like, do something better. Like, what? So first off, first strike, Palpatine returns and makes no sense. And in the first, like, 5 minutes, even when the text is scrolling, it says, oh, Kylo Ren's after Palpatine, and we see Palpatine immediately. And it makes no sense, no relevance on how he survived, nothing. He's just there. Where did he come from? because you were dead. And also, that ruins all of episode 6. The whole point of the Chosen One, Darth Vader was the Chosen One. He was meant to set order within the Star Wars universe, right? He was meant to destroy the Sith, which he does. His whole thing is he becomes the Sith, but then he destroys the Sith Lord, Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, and he kills him, destroying the Sith, destroying the dark side of the Force, and bringing balance and making all the good side bright, because he was the Chosen One. He's the one that destroyed the Sith. You ruined Darth Vader's character, so you ruined all of Star Wars, and you ruined The Last Jedi, which is the previous movie to this. So this movie ruins the whole franchise. It makes it uncanon. It makes Darth Vader look like he did nothing, and his death was meaningless. Why? That alone. Oh my, now I'm thinking about it. This might be a half star. This might be like a 12 out of 100, dude. Oh my gosh. So Rey Palpatine, right? Palpatine, because she says Rey Skywalker. We might as well get to that. At the end of the film, she goes like, oh, I'm Rey Skywalker. No, you're not. You're Rey Palpatine. You're a Palpatine. Yeah, so she's a somebody now. It's stupid. And throughout the film, I'm just going to talk about the stuff that made me really mad. Kylo Ren. He was a cool character, probably the best character within this whole trilogy, right? Kylo Ren all of a sudden comes out of nowhere, and we see him fighting Rey Skywalker, or whatever, Rey Palpatine, whoever you want to say, Rey. They're fighting each other on that Star Destroyer, and it's raining, and then he sees his father, Han Solo. Han Solo says, hey, he goes, Adam Driver goes, I have the strength. I don't know if I have the strength to do it, yada, yada. Throws the lightsaber and goes like, hey, I'm good now. I was like the most powerful, Sith at the time. I'm like, I am the Sith Lord, but, good now. Yeah. So bad writing. It's messy. This whole movie's messy and sloppy and just terrible. And it's directed by J.J. Abrams, who made The Force Awakens, and that's such a good film. What happened, dude? What happened? And then they do like this whole thing where Kylo Ren is helping Rey, and that whole Force thing with the sword thing. That thing that Kylo Ren does with the lightsaber, fine. That's cool. I like that. They kept that from Last Jedi. Sure, why not? Whole General Hux thing. General Hux is revealed to be the rebel spy, because throughout the whole, I think it starts in The Last Jedi, they say that there's a rebel spy, or it might be this movie, and then General Hux goes like, I'm the rebel spy. I work for the good guys the whole time. In The Force Awakens, he blew up 4 planets on screen that we know of. This dude is the sole reason for eliminating billions of people, multi-billion, possibly trillions, even more. He killed so many people, and he's saying that he's the rebel spy? Why? It's so bad, dude. Oh my god, because General Hux was actually a good character. I actually did enjoy General Hux. It makes no sense that he's the rebel spy. It's so dumb. That's really all I have to say. I can't even think of anything more, and there's probably so much more that I have to say that's bad. I don't like the whole thing where they fake out Chewie's death. If they killed Chewie, I might have had a little bit more respect for this movie, because it would have taken me places that I wouldn't even know. It's a really bad movie, and now thinking about it, I have to reevaluate my score, but it's lower than a 30. It might be a 15. I don't know. But that is this trip down memory lane of how bad the sequel trilogy is, because no matter how good the first Force Awakens is, The Rise of Skywalker is so bad. This movie is like a downhill roller coaster. It's so bad. But with all that being said, that's my thoughts on the sequel trilogy. We're going to see. I might do a review on the Clone Wars movie and Rogue One and Solo, but I'm not quite sure yet. But I'm super excited for Mandalorian and Grogu. Hopefully it's good. Let me know your guys' comments, and let me know your guys' thoughts on the sequel trilogy and Mandalorian and Grogu down below. If you like this video, make sure you like it. If you really like it, make sure you subscribe. And if you want to see future videos like this, make sure you ring the bell in the description down below. Well, with all that being said, may the Force be with you. Peace.